This is Meet Sean, where we break down real life topics insurance, annuities, real estate, travel planning, and home ownership so you can make smarter moves. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
Every single year, uh, severe weather just tears through the U.S., right? And it leaves behind this $20 billion bill.
Yeah, a massive, massive amount of damage.
Right. And, if you run a business in Florida, you already know a huge chunk of that is aimed squarely at your backyard.
Absolutely. It's just a reality of operating there.
It is. But here is the secret that we're looking at today. It isn't actually the wind or the rain that bankrupts a storefront.
No, it really isn't.
It's the hidden operational paralysis that kicks in the exact moment the clouds clear.
Yeah, and when you analyze risk through the lens of institutional financial planning, the kind of strategies deployed at firms like Raymond James or Allstate, you stop looking at insurance as this annoying administrative chore.
Right, like just a box to check.
Exactly. You start treating it as a holistic asset protection strategy because the goal isn't to fear the weather, right? It is to control the controllable through proactive management.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Florida business owners, they know exactly what a summer squall or a Category 3 hurricane looks like.
They live it.
Yeah, we don't need to waste time describing heavy rain or, prolonged power outages. What we really need to understand is the mechanical failure of a business that happens after the physical damage is done.
Right, the aftermath.
Exactly. So our source material for this deep dive brings up this coastal retail shop that took a hit last July. A wind event rips down their signage, pushes water into the showroom.
Just a terrible, terrible day.
It's a nightmare. But the true tragedy wasn't the water on the floor, it was the fact that they were forced to stay closed for 3 weeks while waiting for adjusters and contractors.
Wow. Yeah, 3 weeks of total operational paralysis. For a small or mid-sized business, 21 days of zero revenue is, well, it's often a death sentence.
Because the bills don't stop.
No, they don't. It completely drains your cash reserves.
Okay.
But your overhead, your payroll, your vendor obligations, they just continue to accrue right on schedule.
I want to push back on the standard narrative here, though. Because everyone always points to the storm damage as the business killer. Oh, the roof caved in. That's what ruined them.
Right. They blame the wind.
Yeah. But the way I see it, we are looking at a domino effect. The flooded floorboard, that's just the first domino.
Okay.
The storm flicks it over. The damaged inventory is the second. But the massive third domino that actually crushes the enterprise is those 3 weeks of zero cash flow. The storm didn't bankrupt them. The downtime did.
What's fascinating here is the mechanism behind stopping that third domino, and that is exactly where business interruption insurance comes into play.
Oh, okay.
It is arguably the most vital yet least understood piece of a commercial policy. Because it doesn't just hand you a check for a wet carpet.
Right.
It is mathematically designed to replace the net income your business would have earned. Plus, and this is key, the continuing normal operating expenses incurred, including payroll, while you're suspended.
Wait, really? It covers the payroll while the doors are shut?
Exactly. It bridges that massive financial gap between the day of the disaster and the day you finally reopen your doors.
That is huge. But, the threat matrix doesn't stop at just the physical damage and the downtime.
No, unfortunately not.
There is this secondary, almost invisible threat that rolls in right after the storm. And that's the post-storm liability landscape. And this is where the legal mechanics get really, really aggressive.
Oh, the shift in liability is drastic. See, during the storm, the damage is legally considered an act of God.
Right. Nobody's fault.
Exactly. But once the storm passes, your legal duty of care to your customers and vendors just instantly resumes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if your property has slick floors or structural debris or maybe compromised lighting and a delivery person slips and falls while bringing you supplies, you are facing a premises liability claim.
So even if the storm created the hazard like the water on the floor, the business owner is still liable.
Legally, yes. The standard of care hinges on negligence and known hazards. If you know, or reasonably should know, that your entryway is flooded and you fail to mitigate that hazard or put up adequate warnings, that slip and fall accident is entirely on you.
That's terrifying.
It is. And these claims result in massive medical bills and legal defense costs. If your general liability limits aren't robust enough to absorb a sudden spike in post-storm claims, the weather event has essentially hit your balance sheet twice.
So we have this devastating dual threat. The storm stops your revenue stream completely, and then the post-storm environment invites lawsuits that actively drain whatever capital you have left.
Exactly.
And since downtime is the ultimate enemy here, a payout 3 months later doesn't help you process a credit card tomorrow.
But you need cash flow now.
You need an operational engine to survive that immediate aftermath.
Which brings us directly to the mechanics of a business continuity plan. When you analyze businesses that actually survive prolonged outages, they all share 3 operational habits.
Okay, what are they?
Secure data backups, prioritized emergency contacts, and practical physical safety protocols.
Let's dive deep into that data backup piece, specifically cloud architecture, because the source guide makes a great point here.
Yeah, it does.
I like to think of a cloud backup like an off-site central nervous system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Even if the body, like your physical storefront, is knocked completely unconscious by a local power grid failure, the brain is still fully active in like a secure server room in another state.
Yeah, and the mechanism that makes that central nervous system so valuable is your recovery time objective, or RTO.
RTO, okay.
That's the metric defining exactly how fast you can get your systems back online. If your point of sale data only lives on a physical hard drive in your back office, and that office is under a foot of water,
You're in trouble.
your RTO is weeks. I mean, you have to buy new hardware, attempt data recovery, rebuild your database from scratch.
But if that POS system is syncing to the cloud in real time,
Then your RTO is literally minutes.
wow, minutes.
Yeah, the physical terminal might be dead, but your customer data, your inventory counts, financial records, they're all secure on a remote server.
Right. So you're not actually losing the core of the business.
Exactly. You simply purchase a commercial tablet, connect it to a cellular hotspot, authenticate your credentials, and you are actively processing orders while your competitors are still taping cash-only signs to their front doors.
That's amazing. It allows the business to just pivot seamlessly rather than pausing entirely.
Exactly. And the second habit, emergency contacts, isn't just about having the police and fire department on speed dial.
Right. That's basic stuff.
Yeah, it's really about vendor prioritization. If half the businesses in your zip code need drywall or generators or server racks at the exact same time,
It's a madhouse.
you need direct, pre-established lines of communication with your suppliers to get to the front of that line.
Makes total sense.
And that leads right into the third habit, which is physical safety and protocol documentation. We really have to connect this digital and logistical prep to basic human behavior.
Yeah, people panic.
They do. During an emergency, when the power cuts out mid-transaction or, weather alerts start screaming on everyone's phones, the cognitive load on your staff is just way too high to make strategic decisions.
Chaos basically becomes the default state.
Precisely why documenting clear procedures is an absolute requirement. Running physical safety drills removes the need for your team to think.
Right. They just react.
They just execute muscle memory. If your weekend staff knows exactly how to manually lock down the inventory, secure the cash drawers, and evacuate safely without waiting for a manager to tell them what to do.
Then a momentary power loss doesn't devolve into long-term organizational chaos.
Exactly.
But, all of this operational prep, the cloud POS, the vendor lists, the safety drills, it's completely useless if the financial engine funding the recovery is broken.
Totally.
Like you can have the best digital life raft in the world, but if you don't have the capital to actually rebuild the physical structure, you are just floating in circles.
You're stranded.
Right. And this exposes a massive blind spot for growing enterprises. The static policy.
The static policy is such a trap. Business insurance must dynamically align with company growth, yet a staggering number of owners treat their commercial coverage as an administrative task. They just, check off once and then auto-renew for a decade.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Relying on an old insurance policy while your business is successfully scaling is exactly like trying to wear a winter coat you bought in middle school.
It's a great way to look at it.
Right. You've grown, you've gotten taller, your shoulders are broader, but the coat hasn't changed. So now you're walking out into a blizzard and your arms and torso are completely exposed to the elements.
Yeah.
But you feel like you're wearing a coat, so you have this dangerous false sense of security.
The truly dangerous part of that middle school coat analogy is that you don't realize the coat no longer fits until you are already standing in the blizzard. Let's look at the actual mechanisms of why that happens. The first major exposure is outdated inventory valuation. I mean, inflation and market demand constantly shift the replacement cost of your goods.
So wait, if my policy covers $50,000 of inventory, but due to, say, 3 years of growth and inflation, my current warehouse stock is actually worth $150,000
Then a total loss event is catastrophic.
because I'm short $100,000.
Yes, but it is actually worse than just being underfunded.
Wait, how could it be worse?
Because if your policy includes a standard coinsurance clause, which, by the way, many commercial property policies do, you are legally required to insure your assets to at least 80% of their actual replacement value.
Okay.
If inflation pushes your value up, but you keep your coverage flat to save on premiums, you don't just run out of limits. The insurance company applies a coinsurance penalty.
A penalty.
Yes, meaning they only pay a fraction of your partial losses, too. You literally get penalized for being underinsured.
Wow. That is a brutal mechanism to discover after the fact.
It happens all the time.
Another massive gap the source points out is missing weather endorsements. You know, a lot of owners think, I have commercial property insurance, I am covered for weather.
Right, they assume it's all inclusive.
Yeah, but standard policies explicitly exclude specific perils. So what exactly is an endorsement in this context?
An endorsement isn't a new policy. It is a specific legal amendment. Think of it as a rider attached to your master contract that overrides those standard exclusions.
Okay, overrides them.
Yeah, because standard commercial property policies frequently exclude damage from windstorms, hail, or floodwater. Furthermore, adjusters draw a hard mechanical line between wind-driven rain that, say, enters through a broken window and floodwater that rises from the ground up.
Wait, really? So if water comes from the sky, it's one thing, but if it comes from the ground, it's another?
Exactly. And if you operate in Florida and you don't have explicit endorsements buying back coverage for the exact types of water and wind damage that hit your specific zip code, you are playing Russian roulette with your balance sheet.
Unbelievable. And we can't forget the business interruption coverage we discussed earlier, too.
Right.
If your policy calculates a maximum payout based on like a 30-day recovery period, but regional supply chain issues and contractor shortages mean it actually takes 4 months to rebuild your storefront,
Then you are footing the bill for 3 months of payroll out of your own pocket.
which would bankrupt almost anyone.
Totally. If we connect this to the bigger picture, engaging in regular professional insurance reviews isn't just about protecting physical assets. It's a proactive approach that actually yields predictable managed premiums.
So it's not just about spending more money.
Not at all. By auditing your policies, you prune unnecessary expenses from areas where your risk has actually decreased, and you reallocate those exact funds to buy endorsements where you are currently exposed.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's a core component of strong leadership. It proves to your employees and stakeholders that you are securing the future, not just rolling the dice to save a few dollars on premiums.
So let's say I'm sitting down with my agent tomorrow. My default instinct is just to look at the premium and ask, is this going up?
Right? That's what everyone does.
But how do we actually fix these gaps? What should I be hunting for in that paperwork?
Well, before you even walk into that office, you need a full accounting of your growth metrics. Have you added new servers?
Okay.
Has your monthly revenue increased by 20%? Have you signed new vendor contracts with specific liability requirements? You have to bring your current operational reality to the table.
Okay, so I have my growth metrics in hand. Let's talk strategy. If I'm auditing my liability limits, how do I evaluate that without just, reading a massive dollar amount off a page and assuming it's enough?
You have to stress test your ceiling against reality. You literally ask your agent, if a post-storm slip and fall lawsuit settles for $2 million, at what exact dollar amount does this primary policy exhaust its limits?
Oh, that's a great way to phrase it.
And then follow up with, and do we have an umbrella policy position to catch the overflow? Because you need to know exactly when the insurance company stops paying and your operating budget takes over.
That is highly specific. And what are the weather exclusions? Do I just ask them to point out the fine print?
No, you actively flip the script. Do not ask what is covered. Ask what specific storm scenarios will result in a denied claim.
Wow, okay. Force them to explicitly outline apparel exclusions.
Exactly. If they say rising water is excluded, well, you immediately know you need to negotiate a separate flood endorsement.
That is a highly tactical way to approach it. I love that. When we move to auditing the business interruption coverage, what is the exact mechanism I'm looking for there?
You are auditing two things, the calculation and the duration. You ask, how exactly is my lost income calculated? Is it based on the trailing 12 months of revenue? And what is the maximum duration of that payout?
Because 30 days isn't enough anymore.
Right. You need to ensure the coverage extends long enough to account for current real-world construction delays.
And finally, verifying your industry classification, because I saw that in the source guide too. How do my current premiums compare to industry standards for my specific sector?
This is crucial for premium optimization. Sometimes a business evolves, Maybe you started as a high-risk manufacturing facility, but now you primarily do light assembly and digital sales.
Okay.
If you are still classified under the old high-risk code, you are paying vastly inflated premiums for coverage you no longer require.
I have to admit, though, walking into an office and interrogating your agent with these highly specific technical questions,
Yeah.
doesn't it create kind of a weird dynamic?
How so?
Well, you're essentially auditing the financial professional that you pay to audit you.
Oh, I see. Well, this raises an important question about the very nature of that dynamic. It really shouldn't feel like an interrogation. It should feel like a strategic partnership. If your agent gets defensive when you ask to stress test your limits,
That's a red flag.
that's a glaring red flag.
That makes total sense. An agent operating with an institutional, holistic mindset, like the background from Raymond James or Allstate that we've been referencing, they would actually welcome this level of engagement.
Precisely. A professional with that depth of experience understands that business insurance must integrate directly into your broader financial strategy. They want to actively manage your risk profile.
They want you to ask these questions.
Yes, because finding out you have a hidden exclusion for storm surge flooding is a strategic conversation you desperately want to have in a nice, air-conditioned office in May.
Not in August.
Exactly. You do not want to discover that exclusion while standing waist-deep in water in your own lobby in August.
Waist-deep in August. That image alone completely reorients how you view commercial insurance.
It really does.
Let's synthesize the terrain we've navigated today in this deep dive. We started by dissecting the devastating dual threat of Florida's seasonal storms, right? The mechanical failure of operational downtime, compounded immediately by the severe legal shift in post-storm premises liability.
Right. The storm knocks your revenue offline, and the lawsuit actively drains your reserves.
Exactly. We then broke down the architecture of a resilient business continuity plan, focusing heavily on that digital life raft.
Cloud backups are essential.
Absolutely. By utilizing offsite cloud backups and understanding your recovery time objective, you ensure that a localized power grid failure doesn't permanently erase your data or halt your ability to process transactions once you secure a temporary connection.
And from there, we exposed the massive blind spot of the static policy. We explored the actual mechanisms of why outgrowing your coverage is so dangerous, from the financial devastation of a coinsurance penalty on outdated inventory valuations to the critical necessity of legally overriding master contract exclusions with specific weather endorsements.
And we equipped you with a strategic framework to audit your own coverage.
Yes, those 4 questions.
By aggressively questioning your liability ceilings, the explicit peril exclusions, your business interruption formulas, and your industry classifications, you take active control of your risk profile before the first storm warning is ever issued.
Addressing these vulnerabilities right now, today, isn't just another administrative chore to bury at the bottom of your to-do list.
No, not at all.
It is a calculated, strategic investment. It buys you genuine, mathematically sound security. It provides the peace of mind necessary to stop checking the radar, allowing you to focus your energy entirely on what you actually set out to do, which is aggressively growing your enterprise.
Control the controllable, so that when the uncontrollable inevitably happens, your operational foundation remains entirely unshaken.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Which leaves us with one final thought to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. We started by acknowledging that severe weather causes over $20 billion in damages across the country every single year.
Huge number.
We now know the mechanics of how a single outdated inventory valuation or, one missing flood endorsement is enough to bankrupt a thriving company in a matter of weeks.
It happens so fast.
So ask yourself,
Yeah.
what is the true financial risk of delaying your insurance checkup by just one more week?
That's it for today's Meet Sean. If this helped, follow the show and share this episode with one person who needs it. See you next time.